Good day, everyone. Welcome to Sound Espressivo. Sound Espressivo is a new generation of classical music competition which offers contestants to perform in live broadcasts, television style, from their own locations anywhere in the world. Sound Espressivo panel of judges represents top performing artists and music educators from around the globe. Sound Espressivo offers an unprecedented array of awards for musicians. Welcome to our podcasts. Meet the judges, music promoters and managers, and music educators.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.
And today, we welcome 3 international artists who are members of the Sound Espressivo panel of judges to be our guests on the panel here and to share their work, their understanding of the future for performing arts and classical music, and their art. Please welcome Galina Ivannikova, an opera singer, dramatic mezzo-soprano, and she's joining us from New York. Welcome, Galina. It's an honor to have you on our program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you, Anna, for doing this absolutely amazing job to promote music, to give this great opportunity for the students to start their career, to do in this hard time music and performing by internet, but it's new stuff for us, but it's absolutely great job. Thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you, and thank you for stepping up. And we have a surprise coming up. Galina, an international star, agreed and prepared her tech to demonstrate what it's going to be like for participants, for contestants, to perform from their own homes, turning their living rooms into actual virtual stages for their performances. And we are forever grateful and very honored. And I appreciate your courage. It can be very nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Galina, you're a successful opera singer. You're in high demand by some of the most well-known opera companies and theaters in the world. You established yourself in a number of signature roles. Amneris is one of them, just one of many. And your career and artistic plans had been disrupted, of course, by the current situation enormously. And in so many ways, I'm sure this has been a devastating change of circumstances. What is your personal response to the situation? What do you do to keep creative and productive as you are?
Yes, this is a difficult time, and for us, and a recommendation for all singers, it's practice, practice, and practice. Because as any instrument and voice also, to keep it fit, to keep it in great condition, you have to practice. Because especially for singers, because first of all, when you're not practice, it's slow down your ability to sing. What happened? Because every day you become to be new person. You become to be older. You did not become to be young. And of course, if you're not practicing day, 2, 3, a week, a month, then you have to start over from scratch. Same with any instrument. We are same. Then what I do is practicing. This is great opportunity, and I think because we stuck at home. We have a lot of time and a lot of energy. Then what happened? We're learning new roles. especially difficult roles. For example, I'm learning right now Richard Strauss. This is absolutely amazing roles of Die Arme from Die Frau ohne Schatten and Clytemnestra from Elektra. This is difficult, but I'm learning. I'm learning new stuff because we right now prepare for great concerts with composer Natalie Preziosi. We're learning her music, absolutely gorgeous, amazing. Also, when you're practicing, it's very important. You have all equipment. You have home. You have mirror. You have great equipment, like at least like iPad or iPhone or any phone.
And I
Then
want to
you
say
can-
it is great equipment, right?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
20, 30 years ago, we could have
We were
dreamed
dependent-
only about
Yes.
having that. We take it for granted now, but that's not right. We
Yeah.
shouldn't take it for granted. We should use it.
We use it, and believe me or not, I think because we cannot right now go to teacher, we cannot depend on teacher, then everything what we can do with practicing, recording, especially video recording, because you can look at yourself how you look, and because how you look it will show you that you have problem or not. Then we
Of course.
recording, compare, like yesterday recorded for today record, and think. Because think it's very important. When you're thinking, what happened? You making question. What did I do that I'm singing today is better than yesterday? I did this. Oh my gosh, I have to continue. And this is improvement. Go every single day. Never give up. This is my recommendation for all students, for all my students. Never give up. Be strong, because we cannot do anything else. Like, of course we can, because we multitask. But this is what we have to do, because it's our soul. It's our ability to perform, to giving people these feelings of happiness, of life, of love or horror or whatever you're singing, especially for mezzo-soprano. All the time, like, I try to scare people on the stage. Then this is my main recommendation: working, recording, learning. This is great for all students, for me too. I never stop exercising and learning something. And second, this is a great opportunity to listen music, because when my teacher, when I studied in Ukraine, she said, you have to learn, you have to listen, because when you're listening, you making some kind of conclusion what they do. This is great Italian singer to sing better. Then this is opportunity to listen, especially the Metropolitan Opera, who gave us this opportunity to listen every single day new opera. Then what did I do? I listen every single opera that they perform. Maybe I miss like 2-3 operas, and I gain so much information. It's really enjoy. It's like, if you have depression, listen music, good performance, because first of all, it's take away your bad mood, and plus you're learning. Then teaching, listening music, practicing. It's what we are doing, learning new music.
Learning.
Yes.
This is what we hear from every one of the guests of this program. And these are artists who are moving forward, not succumbing to depression and complaining about the situation and hoping that someone else is going to improve it for us. Instead, these are people who are moving the industry forward, and we're making strides, and you're making strides forward to make it better, to make the world better, and to make music better. And one of the incredible things, on a very quick notice of preparation, Galina, you learned how to set up and equip yourself to perform live, and I can't wait to hear that. Can we do the performance now?
Absolutely. Let me prepare a little.
Absolutely, that's what she says. Absolutely, I will do it. I'm learning, I will learn, and I will just absolutely do it.
I'm a little.
I admire this.
Yeah, you know that it's very, very important, and you have to remember, because if you stop, then you will work in different field, and your soul will be so unhappy. We cannot do this. We cannot afford it. Okay, I'm preparing.
Wonderful, take your time. And we'll hear Galina performing live an aria of Carmen. Yes, I can see the flower is going up. She's Carmen.
No. A little missing.
That's absolutely phenomenal! Oh my gosh! What a joy! What a performance! I mean, you made my day. You really did.
It's really hard.
And the little dance
Of course,
there.
I wish I had more time, more space. But you know that this is really important. It's really hard to find out how to sing and how to perform in small spaces, and so especially for opera voices, because opera voices, it's a huge sound, huge like amount of sound. Then
Of
you
course.
have to adapt it somehow and don't lose this ability to sing through the orchestra, because it's very, very important. Then we are practicing. Learning
Incredible,
music.
incredible. And you're learning different sides of the performance, and now you're becoming a confident opera singer on a virtual stage. Amazing. How do you envision the live performance over the internet on virtual stages? I mean, virtual concert halls is one of the stages, but there are other people who are working on establishing platforms where performers and professional musicians can confidently step on and perform. How do you see it for the future? Is it does it have its own future, or is it more like a temporary, difficult necessity?
I think it's temporary necessity, because first of all you have to practice. Second, you have to keep going with no problem. You have to learn how to use this equipment, like electronic and computer and program. But we can do this. It's because, thanks God, we are musicians, and musicians' brain working very, very hard, and it's very smart. But why I think that it's temporary, even this is hard time. When, like, for example, I was watching a documentary movie or a program about Black Death. It's going through centuries. Every 100 years, it's Black Death in Europe. Like, half Europe is gone. But see what happened. We're still singing. We're still performing, because people cannot do with no music, because music is the soul. We're giving them opportunity to enjoy life with listening, because music, it's more than music, like words. It's about soul. It's about feelings. It's about everything together. Then any generation recover from hard time. We will recover too. And why I think it's temporary. First of all, it's good to know how to do this. But what happened in a performance in internet? You're singing, you're performing, you like do beautiful stuff, and you like perfect your technique. But what happened in the screen? People listen, but they cannot receive these feelings that we are sharing.
Oh, I can
Because-
receive your feelings. You just shared feelings. I received them all right. Yeah. So it's up to the artist then, don't you
Yes,
think?
but what I found out by doing many concerts, when I stay in front of people, I physically giving them energy. Energy that's kind of bioenergy. When it's not only smile, like it's not only sound, it's not only performance, it's physical energy that you're sharing. You're giving all your power of beautiful feelings, you send it to people, and what as a result they send it to you. This is same energy with love, happiness, and this is sharing of energy. It cannot be done by internet, because first of all I see you, I see people in the screen, and because I have experience, I try to produce this energy, because with no energy it's dead singing and dead playing. But it's still, because my experience show difference. First of all, when it's going sharing this energy, it's very, very beautiful feelings, because you did not go home like exhausted. You go home excited. You cannot even sleep because of this sharing. I giving by myself all my energy to all public, and public giving all of them, each one giving this energy to me. This is a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
That we
course.
have to come back, and we will.
Of course.
When we do this history look, and we can see that it's still after like it's recover. A world will recover.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
right now, they don't lose any ability to perform beautifully. You have to learn how to do internet.
When
to do-
everything comes back, of course, so
Yes,
we're ready.
yeah, we will be ready. It's what my teacher said. "Oh, Galina, don't worry. You're learning this, that. Then when it's finished, you will be ready to go away right away." I think, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then we will do, and we will help our students, and we will have in this absolutely great organization like Espressivo Global Competition to help people to understand it, to give them this opportunity. It's like so great, so amazing. It's like cannot
Wonderful.
wait.
Yes, that's what we want, to keep people have goals and continue.
Yes.
So when everything is back, we are ready to roll.
Yes. It doesn't mean that it will stop right away concert in the internet. No, not. Some people will continue, and we will continue to do. It's not doesn't mean that we have to like, oh, it's finished, we don't have to do this. No, this is a great opportunity, because when you do this singing through internet, you can share. It's easier. Because if it's people coming to concerts, like 1,000 people coming, but all world don't see it. But when you're sending through already these recordings and this singing, broadcasting and stuff, people stay informed, and people still can enjoy. You're absolutely right. If you enjoy my singing, then it's right.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Galina. This was incredible to watch you perform live, even though I can't come to your concert hall right now and watch your performance in the hall. I'm very grateful to be able to watch your real-time performance on the program.
Thank you so
We're
much.
going to, yeah, thank you. We're going to bring Stanislav Pronin, a violinist. Welcome, Stanislav. Thank you so much for joining our program. And you're joining us today from where?
First of all, thank you for having me. I'm joining from Berlin, from Germany.
From Germany. And Galina was joining us from New York, if I haven't mentioned it. Stanislav, you're a violinist of a world-class statute. You have performed with some of the leading musicians and orchestras of the world. And you have held some of the top most desirable positions as concertmasters with the top name orchestras. You worked with the best conductors of our generation, and you performed at some of the most established music venues, concert halls, and festivals. Same as for Galina, I'm sure lots of your plans and contracts and performances and appearances were disrupted. And how do you respond to this humongous disruption and this challenging time, to stay active, to stay productive, to stay current and in demand?
Well, first of all, you said so many good things about me. I guess I don't have to talk now. No, I'm kidding.
No, we have some banners people can see. I haven't even said 1% of what you've done.
No. I mean, it's just like, I think now everybody, people, let's say people have, steady positions in orchestras, for example, in some countries in Europe. So they at least also financially are more secure than a lot of people. I know that in the United States they have a lot of problems with orchestras, that they don't getting paid even for a lot of things. But for me, aside from a lot of the things being really, so many things being rescheduled and cancelled and whatnot, yeah, for me it's more important the fact that we cannot go on stage and now, as Galina said before, there's a big difference, right, between the internet performances, let's say, and performances live on stage, because I don't think I agree with you what you said about the energy. For example, the energy level can be transferred, because when I hear even old videos with not very good quality of Yasha Heifetz or Vladimir Horowitz, whatever, I feel their energy and they're helping me get through difficult times, and etc., etc. But for the performer, I think it is very important to go on stage and really feel that, for me it's really catharsis, yeah? It's really a cathartic element there, that I can really sort of express myself, because in real life I think I'm not a very expressive person comparatively, yeah? And in music I can really come out. This is what I'm really missing. So this is where the cancellations and all those things really get to me and most of my friends that think along the same lines, yeah?
So what do you tell people? I'm sure there's plenty of reason and serious, realistic reason for musicians to really succumb to feeling depressed and just feeling hopeless. Would
Well,
you
it's very
tell
difficult
people?
for, yeah, so it's very difficult for young people right now, especially for young. I mean, I'm also, I guess, young, but not young and like starting student when you know you're like 18, 19. And I know people who are right now saying, who are very talented, who are saying, oh, we're gonna change careers because it's really impossible to make money, to make a living, and when you already at least have certain things going on, so you know, okay, I have still have some things rescheduled, and then whatever, yeah. But hopefully things will pick up. We don't know when, but you know, some young people who are just starting out, it's very scary for them to get into it.
Yeah.
And I think, like Isaac Stern said one thing very correctly before, more than one thing, but this one thing that I really agree with when he said, you know, you should only play music when you cannot not play. You know, when you if you feel like you can live without making music, then you probably shouldn't make it. It doesn't matter. It's not about Corona in general because it's so competitive, even without the pandemic. Yeah, it's very competitive. There's so many people who are very talented and who have people who want to support them and promote them and whatever. So if you really want to make it, um, besides luck and who you know and your ability, you should also be able to really say that I cannot live without it, because the amount of time that every wonderful musician I know personally uh, and even have read about, yeah, that wanted to quit
course.
and wanted to kill themselves and wanted to whatever, it's a million different, it's not only this pandemic, it's just in general you have difficult situations. So I tell the students when I talk to them, like for example during this pandemic, I really my shape, my form in terms of violin playing, my technique, I think has gone up because you don't play concerts so much, so you really get to practice technical stuff and like Paganini caprices, things like that, and it really helps actually. I mean, I guess nobody. I'm making a joke because like nobody actually needs my shape now because I'm not really playing what I'm supposed to be playing. Yeah? But I feel it myself, so I feel better when I go to sleep at night that I'm in really good shape, and once it picks up, then my playing is going to be that much better. So that's what I tell the students. Let's say you have a competition that was supposed to take place, and some, like in our case that we're talking now, yeah, you have a competition online, but there are some competitions that have been unfortunately cancelled. And let's say I'm preparing and I'm like, I knew before the pandemic, let's say in 3 months I have a competition, now it's rescheduled for another year. So students tell me that, but I tell them, so don't worry about it, you'll play that much better. You have another year to prepare. So I mean, there are ways to think about it psychologically to make yourself sort of hopefully come out of that depressive state. We're all in this now, yeah? So it's inevitable that you'll have these feelings, but you either quit or you go on, like everything else in life. There is no other in between, I think.
Absolutely. And for the artists, to have the talent is probably not good enough reason to be an artist. It has to be something what Isaac Stern said. You have to have that overpowering desire and internal need to express through artistic language, because there are many other ways to express one's talents. Being an artist, it has to be really an internal desire, internal call to endure the amount of practicing needed and other challenges which our profession, of course, inherently carries. Thank you for sharing that. And I don't know how you can learn to play violin better than you're already playing, but we would like to hear.
I think if you're an instrumentalist, not just violin player, whatever, singer, instrumentalist, if you're a musician or artist or visual arts, and if you think that you're really good, then you should probably. I mean, really good is arguable in general, but if you think, okay, wow, I really cannot do better, then you should really just quit playing, I think, in general.
But with your with
point.
your particular playing, you probably are the only one in the world who knows how that can be improved. Let's hear.
I'm never happy with. I'm never happy to be really on. It's not because I'm trying to be like, oh, I know if I play well, then I play well to some extent that I'm able to express something in this particular concert or whatever. I'm able to, let's say, express musically and what I'm trying to say, I felt like it came across. Then for me, it's successful as a concert. But I'm never happy about it. I can say, okay, it's good, but there are so many things always that can be better that I'm a typical kind of, it's a Russian school, I guess, of musicianship, where when nobody ever tells you good job. They just tell you what it's not constructive to say something is good or something is bad. It's only what can be better, right? So
Well, that's the most productive and constructive criticism is what can be improved, and looking forward in that and that philosophy is extremely helpful in challenging situations because even in the pandemic situation, just like Galina was saying, she's also from the Russian school, and what you're saying, always look for what can be improved and how it can be improved and how any situation can be your friend in terms of promoting more improvement. I'd like everyone to hear a little bit of a preview of Stanislav's playing. I'm not going to say anything, but it's gorgeous.
thank you.
Phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
Gorgeous sound. Beautiful and such soulful performance. That's what Russian school is famous for, soulful playing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's I've studied with different teachers also, not from. I mean, my I guess main teacher would be Zakhar Bron, yeah, which is one of the most exemplary kind of Russian, I guess, professors, yeah, which is incredible in its own right. And also I studied before with Nelly Shkolnikova, who was also Yankelevich schools, like the most famous, also Russian Soviet violin schools. But I also studied with Jamie Laredo, who studied with Gingold, who in turn studied with Izai, which is a completely different school and whatever. I mean, soulful. I think if you're not playing soulfully, then it's probably not a good school of playing. It doesn't matter if it's Russian or French or, I mean, that's all it is. The actually the main thing that I think differentiates for me the playing of people in the previous, days, like let's say in what we know the 20th century, early 20th century violinists, all those people, Heifetz and Oistrakh and all these great musicians, and I mean not only violinists, of course, in general, and Maria Callas from singers, and I don't know whoever, and Horowitz and Gilels, etc. It's the difference is that today people, I think, strive to promote themselves as besides being, of course, very good looking, because it's a very strange coincidence that so many people are suddenly good looking who play instruments. Okay, I think
Well, you're
I
good
don't have any
looking.
problem. No, I mean, well, thank you very much, but I'm not a super, like, I see people who are really like, it's like a supermodel catalog, which is, wonderful to look at, and I don't see any problem if a person can play. It's like the full package, if no problem if a person can look amazing and play wonderfully and whatever. But generally, right now in classical music, as in other industries also, it's very much of more than before because of internet and Instagram, things like that. People are more focused on superficial sort of aspects of life in general. Then it's easier to promote, yeah, than what you were talking about, soulful. I would say this sort of willingness to really give everything, not to play for the camera because you look nice, and to show and to dress nice and have a nice haircut, it's also okay, it's appropriate, you know. But I think more importantly is to be able to say, okay, I'm ready to die here on stage. If this is my last performance, to really give everything. And this is what I'm talking with my students about a lot. And I always say that today, really, I see a lot of incredibly talented. I would never say someone doesn't play well. I mean, I appreciate how much it takes to, because I know what it takes, yeah, to get to a certain level that's so high. And it is so difficult just to get to that level. Besides even this 10-15% on top that Heifetz and all these people who we know had, that's why, but that's the most important thing. You know, it's the personality. It's not how you look, and it's not how sometimes technically, yeah, you can be, I know people who can play technically better than, I don't know, Oistrakh maybe, but it doesn't matter to me because Oistrakh has a personality. I can recognize him when he plays on the radio. And it also, it only comes not just from violin playing or from technical standpoint. It comes from not paying attention so much to the superficial elements in general in life. And we actually, it's quite funny because now it's really not funny in a funny way, like humorous, but it's strange because now with this pandemic, I think people are reevaluating their life in some ways. And I know that some people who were really focused on this, all of these superficial things before, they're starting to understand that, okay, it's not everything in life is based on how many likes you have on Instagram and you know, on Facebook, and who promotes you, and even how many concerts you have. But what do you have to say in these concerts? You know what I mean? Like, what do you have to say with your playing? I'm also a composer, you know, and I compose now, and I have also a lot of time to do that. So that's one form of expression. But if you're playing other people's music, like I'm coming out and I'm playing Tchaikovsky concerto, so what's so different that, you know, so many, you know, great musicians already have recorded it, and not great musicians, everybody has recorded it, played it. What do I have to really say about it? Most people don't know. They just want to win a competition, the young people, let's say. And that's okay to be competitive, to want to go to compete, but that's not the goal of your life. The goal of your life is to really be an individuality. So this individualism, this is what I would say, sorry for the rant, you know.
Oh no, this is very
We don't
meaningful.
get to talk much, okay? We don't get to talk much with this pandemic, so I'm using
No,
the
this
time on
is
the air.
this is wonderful insight for young musicians and for those who are applying for Sound Espressivo, because just as the name of the competition proclaims, it's about expressive sound, about expressing one's own meaning, one's own virtue, one's own values through the sound, because that's what we make. We make the sound which carries, whatever you call it, energy, concept, theory, values, artistry. You can name it many different ways, but what in the end it means is what that person has to say, just like you said.
Yeah, it's a personality that's reflected in your. I mean, if you are a good, I see a lot of, just the problem is there are a lot of great, really great instrumentalists, and then there are also a few artists. Artist to me is much higher than an instrumentalist, because a great instrumentalist is someone who really mastered the craft, and you can see, and even musically, you can hear the phrasing, you can hear everything is wonderful, I know what they're trying to say, bravo, but I would never come to their concert, because I already know what to expect. Everything is predictable and actually quite boring. Yeah, because it's perfect, great. I can also put it, now we have great, like you said, technology, yeah? I can put it in MIDI file, and I can have the same, in some ways, the same performance. But when it's really an artist, then, like you said, there's a certain personal element and characteristic of this person that's reflected through. That's why when we look at, let's say, we have like paintings. Yeah, when we look at Van Gogh painting, you know it's Van Gogh. There is no one you can confuse him with. Yeah, there is no.
Absolutely.
When you hear Heifetz playing or Ivry Gitlis playing, you know this is them. This is what this person represents. Just like when you talk to someone, it may be even a negative person. It can be a person who is not pleasant to talk to, but you will appreciate much more. Anybody will. If a person, even if they don't like them, they know at least who they are. Now, everybody that I hear, let's say, I'm sorry to say, but 95% of soloists and students and whatever, what I hear, and students, of course, doesn't count because they still have time to achieve certain.
They're still developing, yeah.
Yeah, developing their personality, their characteristic sound. But the soloists that I hear play really great, and I'm like, wow. And it seems like there's nothing I can say that is negative actually, but it doesn't move me in any way. And I'm not the only one. most people that I talk to that are really my friends, we think along the same lines. And it's because the priority is not finding your individual sound. The priority, but like I said before, is to be promoted, to have concerts, to have this and to have that. And look, Heifetz was also Horowitz. They were the most famous, most well-paid musicians. It's not about, you don't have to be poor and suffering.
No,
artist,
one does not exclude the other, of course.
Yeah.
More so, it's inclusive. Of course, the artist who is unique is much more sought after than someone who is very much like everybody else. And the other incredible thing about great artists, they did not manufacture their persona. They did not manufacture that unique sound or unique style of performance. They worked really hard on digging deeply into their own actual personality, the true personality, and they were courageous enough to express it. It takes working, it takes attention, it takes courage too. Not just to play differently from others, but to play differently in a natural way, which is your own personality. It takes also someone learning and knowing who they are.
But it's the most difficult thing. Yeah, like exactly, I agree. But the thing is, you can work really hard and you can have a very good stage presence. Like you can practice stage presence, how to come out on stage, how to interact with people on stage, how to bow, how to play in a way that is effective, that looks effective, whatever. Mm-hmm. But there are some things I think you either that are not really, you're not able to practice. You can be the best you can be, but this 10-15%, this element of charisma, you cannot really practice so much, but you can try to look for yourself, yeah, and and to see whether you can really transfer, because like the difference between the playing of these people attending like Heifetz, those people, and some of the great soloists that I hear today, is that the old school, these guys, that they really kind of played, first of all, they took risks. Now everybody just wants to play, safe and kind of, very, I don't know, just very secure.
To please everybody's judgment.
Not only judgment, but just for themselves. They're just afraid to give, they're afraid to just come out and just play, just do it, because something might happen. They don't have that kind of, you have to step over their line, you have to cross the line, not only in classical music. That's why you have someone like Jimi Hendrix, who was not maybe technically superior compared to like a few other people that are, they have even more clear passages, but on the guitar, yeah. But Hendrix was just, something radiated from him. He was not afraid. He was not afraid to die on stage. This is what I'm trying to say. So this is the first, that's risk element, and second, it's just, it's there, it's very direct, like in a way that it, maybe because of this also element, because it just sort of plays so freely, that it really penetrates you directly, rather than it goes through their filter and then they think about, oh, is this okay, is this safe, and and then they try to play and please, like you said, please maybe someone or themselves or the managers, and everybody is supposed to always smile today, also in interviews. There's nobody can do like what I'm telling you now. I really, not because I think I'm so, but I just cannot, the older I think you get, the less phony you want to be.
Yeah.
But kids are trained from when they're like 14, 15 years old to be positive always. I mean, it's nice to be positive. You have to be, otherwise, but if you have your personality, it should be your personality. You shouldn't always like fake smile and say, oh, my managers are great, this is great. No, that's why their playing is different now, because if you hear interviews of Heifetz, which are very few, or someone like this, or Jimi Hendrix, I don't know, whoever, yeah, not talking about classical music only, in general. You hear people had an opinion about something. Now people say, oh, Tchaikovsky is a great concerto, because every interview is the same. Because, it's a great, what do you think? Well, it's a great concerto because it's really great. And it's really good music. And it's really a great concerto, because this concerto is just wonderful. It's so amazing and incredible. And with all those wonderful adjectives, those like positive things. And I'm like, but what do you really... Because Tchaikovsky can choose himself already who likes him and who doesn't like him, yeah. But what do you really think? Do you have anything that you can actually say? And now, it's like the same. It's like a template. Everything is a template, which really bothers me, because I see those young students who have a lot of promise and a lot of talent, and they're trying to figure out what to do with their life, whatever. And then they have those business class seminars now in all the universities, including, I believe, in Juilliard and whatever, and all the wonderful schools they have, but they started to have how to promote yourself at the age of like 16. That's not, I mean, I know that it's very important and all this stuff, and I also, let's say, use Facebook to post like a link to performance. But at the age of 16, your hormones are crazy. I remember myself when I was 16 or 15 or whatever. Why should you do this, you know, and smile and whatever? Like, what does it have to do with this promotion? You have to do this, you have to do, it's like, hopefully you have people who will help you do it, and you have to do it to some extent yourself, but this should not be your concern as as an artist to do it. It's not, at least not the first concern, maybe the last, you know, especially when you're starting out. So that's what I'm really worried about, the younger generation. And now with this online thing, it's great that we can talk, you know, and we can share over, you know, over this big distance from New York and from Berlin and from, I don't know, whatever, you know, country. It's great, but it even more focuses us a little bit, you know, on the sort of superficial element, yeah? Now
But you're not focusing on the superficial element. You're using the tool the way you choose to use it. You're actually bringing very important problems and challenges musicians have in understanding the current technologies and current ways of connecting in a way which makes it superficial, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, I
It
hope
can
so.
be
I
what
hope
you
so.
choose it to be, and you're a real proof. You're improving yourself, you're continuing your devotion to music, and you're continuing your very courageous sharing. You're bringing up topics which are painful, and maybe not everyone would be courageous enough to even talk about it, but you're here genuine.
Well,
And
I'm here to talk about the taboos, right? No, you're right.
yes, and
It's what you make of it, yeah. It's what you make of it. I mean,
Exactly.
hopefully it's not, you know, it's not so, you know, rare, because I rarely see now that now we're talking also live, but when people want to present themselves, like not only in music but on Facebook, when they put really happy pictures, and everybody always says, you know, oh, you know, look, it's so wonderful. Of course, we don't know their lives, and this is a lot of it is just a facade, sort of. And in the same way, if I'm talking to you live right now, yeah, it's different than if someone just posts a video or a photo, smiling, saying, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's, of course, it's different. But
Absolutely.
hopefully, musically speaking, it doesn't matter. You know, you have to present on recording or whatever it is.
Yeah, it needs to speak the truth, and that's what the Sound Espressivo competition is striving to do. We are inviting every contestant to step on the stage and be who they are and present themselves in real time and in real skin, as opposed to creating that facade, that smoke screen between what's inside and what's outside, to merge those. For the outside, for the output of your art, to represent you, who you are, your personality and your uniqueness in both, in your greatness and in your weakness, because both are part of the art, just like what Stanislav was saying. Not everything has to be with a pretentious smile of everything is good. Things are not good in many ways. So the art being truthful and representing of the reality and the real feelings of an artist is a much better connection and much more representative and much more expressive and impressive. In any way, it's just more true and better. Absolutely. And I'm not sure if we have Natalia's technology connected yet. We'll bring Galina in for a bit of discussion. And but before we start our panel discussion, I want to mention that the Sound Espressivo provides a platform for contestants to perform on during the public rounds and during the preliminary round, which is a private round, but the public rounds, nominations and finals. And the platform, Virtual Concert Halls, was developed by professional musicians in collaboration with, of course, technology professionals and television professionals, and many people brought in their expertise, but it was developed by us, musicians, performers, artists, educators, and in a way which would be our stage. So there's a little clip for everyone to see of the beginnings of it. So this is how it started, as a stage for students to not lose connection with the live performance in the situation where the concert venues, even just the private studios, had to close their doors. And now here we are, opening the door, swinging the door wide open for anyone and everyone who would like to try it performing from their home and turning their living rooms into concert halls. Let's bring Galina. And Galina and Stanislav, you both are judges of the Sound Espressivo competition, which is the first competition in its own format. Lots of aspects of the competition had been revised, and lots of it was revised based on our own dissatisfaction with many aspects of current competitions in the classical music, and also by hearing taking in input from over 200 artists globally from every corner of the world. Musicians were pitching in and suggesting how to review this aspect of the competition, how to review this. And the question which we posed to everyone was, describe to us, please, the competition which you would want to attend. If not had to attend, because it's like kind of like a milestone for every professional musician's career, but if would you want to attend some competition? If it's so, what would it look like? And we get many answers and try to consolidate them, and that's how the Sound Espressivo competition was born. One of major aspects which are departing from majority of the current competitions in our field, two of them. One, we are not prescribing the repertoire to musicians. Instead, we are asking contestants to choose their own repertoire and choose their own length of the performance. And we are not stopping anyone, so everyone has to be considerate of how long they want to be on stage and how the length of their performance is going to correspond with what they perform, what they want to say, what their message is, what their personality is. And, well, of course, part of it was we felt somewhat disenchanted by the fact that contestants' performances are often stopped. And it's unfair to interrupt each other. If I don't finish my thought and someone interrupts me, I feel like I haven't delivered. And same goes for people who can't even defend themselves, the composers. If we stop the Beethoven sonata in the middle and don't hear what it ended, we're just cutting short an important message of a person who had something to say. And the same goes to the contestants themselves. So if we can please hear some of your comments about the repertoire.
Yeah.
I mean, the repertoire requirements, which is no requirements.
I think that it's great because, first of all, you can choose a perfect repertoire, perfect piece for you, and you can show your best quality of your voice. I think it's absolutely great. And also, I'm really happy that people can sing from the beginning to the end of this piece, of this performance, because as I started my career, I was like all the time shaking like half of first piece because I could not like get myself together. And after I open and finally I sing, and mostly all students, like all young singers, it's like this, because maybe because they don't have greatest technique, and then all the time pray, oh please, oh God, like give me like possibility to sing good today, because they don't know sometimes what they're doing every time they open mouth. Then I think that it's great that we can listen them from the beginning to the end to make right decision about this voice, about quality, about everything. And repertoire, of course, maybe this will be good to have one piece like as a requirement, but not to be like to pushing to sing this piece, because sometimes like for example, sometimes people asking, can you sing this? Yes, I can, but the best I will, for example, I will do Wagner the best, then or something like this. Then this is my comment about this repertoire.
Yeah,
and
thank
the
you.
requirements.
Yeah, Stanislav, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that for example, in violin international competitions, that I've, played, and we all know that you have like the first round, you have to play everybody has to play, let's say, Bach, Paganini caprices, something unaccompanied Bach, maybe something virtuoso piece or something solo. Then you have to do next rounds, etc. Sonatas, Beethoven is mandatory, like Beethoven sonata, Brahms sonata, something else, another romantic sonata in those big competitions. But the fact of the matter is that, if we think about someone like David Oistrakh, who's not bad, right?
Not bad.
Not bad at all, I think, yeah. Or let's say Jascha Heifetz, who is, for me, it's my favorite, I think, if I had to choose one favorite violinist, yeah. Jascha Heifetz, for example, he recorded those 3 Paganini caprices, which, let's say, with our transcription for violin piano, and he didn't record 24 Paganini caprices. Oistrakh never recorded all unaccompanied Bach. I mean, I'm sure they could actually play it, but even the greatest musicians that I can think of, nobody's equally good at everything. There's no way that there's going to be one thing that you're uncomfortable with. So the fact that you have a choice to say like, okay, you know what, I don't like Mozart, so I'm not going to play Mozart in this competition. I will play Paganini, Tchaikovsky, something else. Someone else will say, okay, I'll play. The difficulty then is, for me, would be to if I judge something like this, and that's I would say the downside maybe of that is that it's really difficult to say, because 2 violinists who might be amazing, but they have completely different style, like Ivry Gitlis, who plays completely in one way, yeah, and then someone like, I don't know, like even Oistrakh, yeah, who is a completely different player. That's I think the real challenge is how do you, someone plays Mozart concerto and the other person plays amazing Paganini concerto. I don't know who is, let's say, better. Then you have to add other elements and think who's maybe more charismatic, who has more stage presence. And in terms of length of performance, in great big competitions, let's say, I never got stopped, and I don't know, but I know in smaller competitions sometimes they stop, which is, I agree with you, it's kind of impolite, unless it's something really horrible and the person comes completely unprepared.
Which doesn't happen usually in the good
Yeah,
competitions.
of course not. Yeah. So I mean, even in small competitions, the person came prepared and they already, they did all this. I think it's nice to give them a chance, because then you can hear the entire form of the piece. Like if you play Bach Chaconne, you cannot just stop after like a lot of these auditions and whatever people have. They stop after the first. It's a triptych, yeah. So it has really 3 equal movements. You cannot get the feeling of the form if you stop them in the middle. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, so much gets lost when people get stopped before they finish. Just like Galina mentioned, someone maybe just they hadn't opened up in the first few bars, and then they open up and you find out, oh, wow, that's the real artist. But the first few notes of it didn't show. And also prescribed repertoire would definitely rule out one of my favorite pianists, Glenn Gould, who was phenomenal at Bach, of course, in modern music, but everything in between may not be as as desirable to listen to. And these artists had a luxury of choosing their own repertoire. So do we. I, as a performing artist, at a certain stage of the career, was able to start to choose my own repertoire, with few exceptions, of course, but for the most part, managers would prefer to hear what I want to play. And there's some meaning to that. They, the audience comes to the concert hall to listen and to see you in your best, not in a prescribed box of the repertoire. So that's one part of it. And you're absolutely right. Judging a competition which gives young artists an opportunity to express themselves more freely puts a lot more pressure on the judges, and that's what we intend to do, put a lot more pressure on the judges, because this is the competition is created in the end to help next generation of musicians with the best expertise from the judges. And another aspect of the competition, which may be controversial, but both of you, Galina and Stanislav, you're breaking barriers and you're talking taboo topics. So I'm going to bring this one up with you as well. the standard categories of modern day competitions, which is not so modern since maybe 1920s up until now for about 100 years, was to judge contestants based on their specifics of the instrument. Flutists against flutists and bass players against bass players and so forth, violinists against violinists, and never violinists against cellists, for example. That's a no-no. So, or pianists, forget it. And in the Sound Espressivo, based on my personal experience as a judge and many of our colleagues and judges of the Sound Espressivo competition, based on our collective experience as judges, we felt that these are superficial lines, because there are things which connect flutists and violinists and trombone players alike. There's some things about the musical art which are essential and equally applicable to all instruments. And those are the things both of you, Galina and Stanislav, were talking today about as the actually most important things in art, which is being your own artist and having a message to carry. Well, those things do not depend on whether you're playing organ or flute. So in the and another side of it, being on a panel of judging competitions, numerous competitions, I noticed that the judges are earning less and less trust from the audience and from the organizing committees of the competitions, and are given less and less freedom. It used to be that we were able to discuss the contestants. Not anymore. Now we're just putting numbers and relying on the algorithms to decide for us. And even if we are discussing the contestants, I noticed a trend that just a few minutes after starting the discussion about the contestant's performance, we stop talking about this particular artist and we bump heads about what's important in the performance, lyricism or virtuosity. So here at Sound Espressivo, based on those discussions, where judges can hardly agree with each other, we thought, well, maybe these are just different aspects of the art, or different, slight, different directions of the expressiveness. Of course, every virtuoso musician expresses lyricism too, but the focus maybe is on presenting in a grand scale, grand compositions in a grand hall, while the lyricist, of course, is going to have to develop virtuosic technique to be able to express lyrically with a grace and finesse, but the direction may be on a more intimate expression. So at Sound Espressivo, we created 9 categories which have nothing to do with instruments and specifics, and they are focused on the artistic directions. It cannot be identified with walls between. Like you can identify that flute doesn't look like a violin. There you can put very clear walls. You can't put those walls between virtuosity and profound playing. No, of course you can't. But you still can identify a direction. So we have, like I already mentioned, virtuosity, lyricism, and profound or academic performance focused on maybe historic instruments and performances. And we ask all the judges which categories they would like to judge. The idea is if you as an artist are working maybe in the realm of lyricism, and that's your preferred area of aesthetics, you will be judging the contestants which were nominated in that area, in that category, along with other judges who chose that category as their preferred field. So my question to you, Galina, and to you, Stanislav, out of these categories of the Sound Espressivo, which ones speak most to your personal way of expressing through your own art? And if you already decided which ones you're going to judge, just to elaborate a little bit on why those are preferred categories for you.
For me, it's of course singing. It's the best because I'm really professional. I understand how voice built, how it's connected to the body, to support your voice and everything about voice. I'm perfect. But I think that to judge, I also be able to judge piano competition because I'm pianist and I play lots and I won a few competition when I was in Ukraine. And I think I understand because you can judge any instrument by artistic point, how it's beautiful, how it's touching, how like expression of sound and everything together. But you have to be a professional to judge. Then I think because I'm pianist and singer, I can judge both.
Mm-hmm. Stanislav, to you?
Well, there's two parts to the question, right? Like, I mean, I can judge from a standpoint, actually, I'm a violinist, but if I'm not bound by technical problems that pianists have, I feel that sometimes perhaps I can judge piano competition maybe even more fairly in terms of musicianship because of course I know, I mean, I'm not, you know, I've also studied the piano and I compose, I use the piano, but I'm not a pianist. But I'm only thinking about how, whether this musical performance moves me or if it doesn't. The same, I could judge a singing competition and say, wow, this is, you know, and that would be more sort of unbiased, I feel like, because as a violinist, I'm also, if I'm judging, I'm still biased in some ways about, I mean, I'm really trying always not to be if I'm judging competition, but you have some kind of feeling, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you feel like, oh, you know, like as a singer, I'm sure, Galina, you also think like, oh, you know, you have this immediate like response, like, oh, okay, technical ability plus this, and then when you're judging, let's say flute, which I think neither of us play, right? We'll be like, okay, it doesn't matter, we just listen,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
very important. And yeah, the second part of the question is in the categories. Anna said about judges not being trusted, and that's because nowadays what I see, I mean, they're trying to add more artists rather than like soloists, rather than, let's say, teachers, which I think is very correct, which is how it was before. Like it was used to be like Oistrakh, Sigeti, some other people who used to also teach maybe, but that wasn't their priority. That's why people, and when they start discussions like, oh, this person is, that's why they don't want discussions, because when they start doing this, actually it means like, oh, okay, my student wins this competition and your student wins the next one. That's what it ends up with. And then there's excuses like, I've heard things that really lyrical, oh yeah, this is technical. Actually, it's all, sorry, it's all BS. It's all complete nonsense. And I'm not talking about this competition we're doing now, obviously, right? But in big international competitions, so even when they let the algorithms decide, people know that a lot of these people can be trusted because they have a monetary, financial interest in mind, because they need their students to be winners of competitions. And we all know that. I don't know why people don't talk about it. It's like, and then when they write about it, like in some, I don't know, some online thing, it's like, wow, people are like, oh my God, even music competitions are biased. I'm like, yeah, welcome from the moon. You know, they just came from the moon and they didn't know what. So just for students out there, if you're listening to this, yeah, I mean, in this case, we have no, I think if I'm judging flute, it's very nice because then I have really no interest of any kind of, which is great, you know, so in this I think it's great. But dividing, for me, the problem is honesty, to determine which, is Heifetz, for example, I'll give you an example, is Jascha Heifetz, you know, David Oistrakh, are they lyrical or expressive? What is the category?
Well, but they're not going to play their entire repertoire in one competition. I hope not, because that's 50 hours of listening. So they're going to choose something for this competition, and the contestants in this competition, they can also ask to be nominated for certain categories. Someone like Heifetz or Oistrakh or Horowitz probably could perform in any of those categories, so they can choose which one to present in this particular competition. You're not judging the whole person. You're judging their
world. It's like, yeah, but I mean, like, if I'm a violinist, I choose Perpetuum mobile by Caprice by Paganini, which just displays my like something like really crazy fast technique, like, I don't know, Flight of the Bumblebee. Okay, and then somebody else from a violin, let's say they choose to do Vocalise by Rachmaninoff. That, okay, for example, then I can understand. But if I'm playing, let's say, a movement of a Brahms sonata which has both aspects, then I would have to judge, or let's say name this person if I think they can do both amazing, which is why I asked about, for example, Heifetz and Oistrakh. They could do both categories, I mean, let's say amazing, yeah, lyrical and technical and this and expressive. So then I would have to judge them in both categories, and then I would have to give them both, I guess, perfect, let's say, score.
Yeah,
If the
then
categories program.
yeah, then the judges panel for the nominations round, which is the semi-final round, will nominate them to more than one category, and they can. And if someone like Heifetz or Oistrakh or Horowitz or many of those Ivry Gitlis comes on board with the Sound Espressivo competition, I suppose that's probably what is going to happen. Because if the person has both the intensity of talent and the scope of talent of those artists and supports it with that developed ability and technical ability so that they can express multifaceted compositions in many different ways, then they probably will present a larger, more broad program, and they will pose much bigger challenge to the judges to narrow their category down. And the panel of judges in the end may decide to nominate them to all 9. And they may win all 9. Is that
Yeah.
impossible? Well, of course, I think it's possible. What do you
Yeah,
think?
if you win all 9, that's like, yeah, then you're set.
You knocked it.
I guess
And
so.
then, and then on top of it, we have 16 management companies from around the world waiting to hear the contestants' performances and offering prizes which are meant to support their development, if they're young students, then their development in the education and connecting them with greatest artists of our time, including the judges for master classes in the future and for schools and scholarships for programs and schools, etc. And for more mature artists, we have a whole array of management companies in different countries, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in Europe, in Japan, and different places. A big range of services, including enlisting artists on their rosters, if that person who steps on stage of the virtual concert hall is ready to take that kind of challenge on. It's a challenge to be an artist enlisted on the management company's roster, and one has to be ready for that. But there's a range of prices offered, depending on the readiness of the artist. And I suppose someone who knocks down all 9 categories will be ready for all of them. So we will invite our third guest, Natalia Pritsuasi, to join us at the next program. We'll have another program in which we will be presenting a phenomenal composer, and we hope that we will be able to rejoin our group again for that program, because there are a lot of connections between Stanislav and Galina and Natalia Pritsuasi. And I'm just going to give a little peek preview. Natalia's music is very widely appreciated and performed in many countries, and both today's artists, guests, performers have worked with her and performed her music. And
We were going to actually in October now to play. I mean, I was going to premiere her concerto in Moscow, which everything got of course cancelled and rescheduled rather.
rescheduled.
And I'm
Well,
supposed to also record her, which is, she wrote a wonderful violin concerto, which I was also really looking forward to. So we haven't worked just yet, but we recently met. I got introduced to her music, which is really wonderful, and it's really accessible also for a lot of different types of people. So it's not avant-garde in the way that it's not understandable for people who don't like this type of thing, but it's also beautiful in its own right, that it's appealing to all the different kinds of audience. I'm sure Galina will agree.
Oh yeah, and her music is so beautiful. When I first time heard it, I think, oh my gosh, this is neo-romantic music. This is like a lot of beauty, and a lot of passion, and a lot of melodies. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I already, because when Natalie also heard my voice, she's like, oh, excited. And she wrote for my voice particularly. This is part on Third Symphony, that it will be performed first time, because nobody before did a voice as part of symphony. And this is part of it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Then,
So, yeah, I don't want to give out too much to our audience as of yet, because we would like to talk about this more in depth And as we're all used to things being cancelled and rescheduled in the current situation, unfortunately, Natalia's connection to the internet was not strong enough today, and we hope we can improve it, and we'll have another program with her and the two of you. I hope I'm actually going to twist your arm to give us on air promise that you are coming back, and we are doing it with Natalia because we all want to hear more about her music and how you collaborate with her. This is incredibly important for students to understand what it means and what it takes for the performing artists to collaborate with currently living composers, and how valuable that is. And give me the promise. Absolutely is not enough.
I promise.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I was talking about that. What you said, the really important point about collaboration, absolutely was referred to. I promise, yes, but I absolutely was referred to the comment that you said. It's very important, actually, and I tell all the young students also that you have to collaborate with live composers. Otherwise, the music becomes sort of like a dead museum, because it's
Exactly.
Beethoven's year. I understand you have to play, for example, all Beethoven, but Beethoven wrote his music in a time where there were no airplanes, no internet, and nothing else. So it was a completely different. It was human values maybe remain the same, but the interpretation of the world is different. And people who are writing music today, this is contemporary music, really. That it doesn't matter. There is also some composers that are maybe very good, like Natalia, and not very good that we don't like. I wouldn't listen to, but it's like the same as it was before as well. There was
Of course.
Mozart, and then in the time of Mozart, how many, or Haydn, Mozart and Haydn are two great classical period composers. But how many really more can you name, right? So we knew them. So it was always like this in history, but it's very important for also performers, I think, also not just to collaborate, but also to try to write their own cadences, to try to be involved in composition, to at least understand the process and what it takes, and to appreciate this sort of this is where, because the division of the composers performers, it was one of the worst things that happened, like I think in the second half of the 20th century, after Rachmaninoff, Kreisler, Isaïe, that people stopped somehow, they didn't come out and play their own concerto. It was only performers or composers. I think it's
Exactly.
really a wonderful thing to, even if you're not a great composer, let's say, but is a performer, yeah, but to really appreciate the process and what it takes to work with a composer and where they're coming from, because that will help you also in your classical or standard repertoire,
Absolutely.
I think that's what.
Yeah, I can't agree more. So thank you, Galina. Thank you, Stanislav, so much for such an enriching discussion, and for taking the courage to touch on maybe difficult, maybe controversial topics. It's very important for musicians to discuss them, because together we can find a better way forward if we identify where we lack and where we can improve. Thank you. I really appreciate your coming and sharing your time and sharing your expertise and your views. It's been incredibly honored to host you today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yes. Thank you.
And see you again next time. And I'd like to also thank our viewers and our supporters. Thank you very much for being with us today. And many thanks to the people behind the scene, also professional musicians who learned new skills and learned to be also producers of our programs. You can't see them, but they make this programming possible. Thank you, the team of Virtual Concert Halls. See you soon. Bye-bye.